All right, my man. This says we are live. I'm just going to double check to make sure the live stream is going. Jody, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to roll this morning. I got 2 separate cups of coffee. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, and we are impromptu, right? So I didn't tell anybody we were going live this morning. We had to reschedule this one a few times,
Yes,
as you know. And man, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. So if somebody is jumping in the chat, please let us know it's working. I'm sure we'll have some viewers in here right away. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So give us the update on you, my man.
December 11th. Do you understand what day that is? Like how big that weekend is, December 11th?
Well, you should. Well, I know there's a ton of stuff going on.
Yes. So yeah. To answer your first question, what's going on with me? I have a one-on-one match with a good buddy of yours, Jeff Frank, out of Canada, at the Washington State Championships. And this has been put off on a few occasions because of the pandemic. And, you know, we were not able to do it on TAL 3 originally, was November 27th. And for us Americans, that's Thanksgiving Day weekend. Then it got pushed to January 8th, which would have been the LA Expo in California. But because of their pandemic rules, that got pushed back to May. And May is where, you know, I'm thinking, okay, that's the weekend after my daughter's college graduation. So I'll be busy doing that. So talking to Tim Talmatch, who's putting this event on, he said, I'll talk to Jeff. You can have it at my event on December 11th at Washington State. So here we are. Best of 5 left-handed.
Okay, that's crazy. Now there's some other things happening that day.
Yeah.
What are they again? I can't remember.
So at that same event, I'm also involved in a 8-man round robin. You have a 4-way battle between Jordan Seal, Jacob Abbott, Brendan Elsesser, and Andre Armshark. I can't pronounce his last name, but I'll call him Armshark. But there's a fatal 4-way there. Then you got the Armshark, and that's left-handed. Then right-handed, you got Armshark versus Brendan Elsesser, which is also a right-handed super match, best of 5, I believe. Then Marcel Barboza versus Wayne Withers is that same day.
I like that. I like that match a lot.
Yes. And of course, you know, everyone's talking about it. Good old Canada versus USA, Brzenk and Devin Larratt. So that day, it's just like, it's like Christmas, you know, like it's going to be awesome. And anybody who's an arm wrestler or arm wrestling fan need to tune in somewhere, some way, somehow to, you know, find out who's going live that day.
Yeah, we do. And here's the other thing. Like, man, that's a lot to take in. Okay, we finally got the chat rolling here.
Yes.
It's a lot to take in. The Devin versus John match will break the arm wrestling section of the internet, I'm sure. And of course, there probably won't be a time conflict because they're in Dubai.
Right.
I'm still taking John in that match. I just have this weird feeling that, you know, Devin's going to show up not 100% prepared, and John will. And we had this discussion before.
Yeah. And
there was an injury that you cited too, but I mean, pancakes and sausages can heal a lot of injuries before you get to the show.
Well, I tell you what, the banter back and forth is starting to get comical because I don't know about you, but I've never seen that side of John before where he's kind of really digging in. But Devin is a person that will bring that out of you, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
You just have to. And, you know, watching Devin with his, you know, pumpkin hand and, hey, check me out. See my hand. See how this one's bigger than the other. And sticking his hand into a, you know, pre-workout tub. And, you know, it's just, I saw that last video that Devin put out. And it looks like his left hand looked normal. Totally get it. And then he zoomed the camera to his right hand. And it looked like he stuck his hand in a hornet's nest and he got stung thousands of times and it swelled up. He just never did anything about it. That's how thick his hand looked. Which, by the way, I get that because that's how John's hand is on a normal day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Now we have this other thing going on with Chance Shaw. I don't know what his deal is. If he's just staying in Dubai the whole time up until December 11th.
I don't know.
That's a long time, but it's also
Yeah.
very smart. It's very smart. Based on what I experienced in the UK, I'd say he's making the right move. Like, he'll be completely acclimated to that. There'll be no travel fatigue hanging over him. He'll be acclimated to the time zone. I think it's incredibly smart. And well, of course, from his perspective, he's treating this like arm wrestling is going to be his life, his career. So, I mean, shooting stuff with Larry Wheels and doing all the stuff with Levon, who is over there still. I mean, sky's the limit there.
I got a question for you. Speaking of Chance and the bickering between him and Jerry Carteret, and
I wanted to talk about that. Yeah.
it's funny how Jerry kind of like, this whole thing started, I guess, didn't we talk about this before, where Chance showed up at a practice and he might have been a half hour late or whatever. And, you know, of course, social media kind of took that little section of footage and ran with it. And Jerry's like, pretty much, you're not my league. Then he said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll pull you, but I'm going to offer this enormous amount of money. Okay. I get it. Now, all of a sudden, Chance is kind of quiet. Now, all of a sudden, he's in Dubai now. So here's Jerry firing back saying, well, wait a minute. You can afford to go to Dubai, but you can afford to put down this match to pull me since you want this match so badly. What are your thoughts on that?
Here my thoughts are. Now, Chance is not going to like what I'm about to say. And he just isn't. My perspective is this. I feel like Chance takes matches that he either feels he's going to win or he has nothing to lose if he loses. Jerry is that second option. So was John Brzenk.
Right.
If you lose to those guys, you come out of there unscathed.
Right.
Because they're the heavy favorite. It's almost like a no-lose situation. So the fact that Chance could slow down John for a couple of matches or even get that one pin on him, it's like a win for him without winning the match. The same thing can be said about Jerry. But Jerry has made it so that it's not a win-win for Chance because he'll have to put up an enormous amount of money. So if he were to show up and say, here's the $10,000, let's pull, he loses that, you know, that's a lose-lose situation. And Jerry is not going to feel him out and go into his power or do any of that stuff. He is going to try to annihilate and humiliate him. And if he manages to do that and he makes a ton of money, that's a loss in many different ways for Chance. That's my perspective on the whole thing. I do see Jerry's point, but I also see that Chance is investing a lot more into his arm wrestling future by going to Dubai and doing all this. Like, he's going to get way more investment going over there.
Well, Derek Smith did it, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see, you know, it would benefit him, you know? Aside from that, I think we're at a time now where it's all about taking matches, you know, maybe it's about people who are, you know, you're challenging, who are a lot better than you, just to see where you stand. You know?
Yeah. And it stings a little for me because that whole thing that I was supposed to pull Chance and the match got called off. I mean, regardless of the scenario, you know, it kind of, in my mind, in perspective, it bolstered my opinion that I already had.
I'll go on record to say this. If you were not having this match with Cody Merritt on the horizon, I'd say you should be first in line to pull Chance. That's just my honest opinion, because that was actually scheduled. But for other reasons, you know, I mean, you held your end of the bargain, you showed up, but he didn't for, you know, whatever reason it was. But I think you should get the first crack at him. But now that you have Cody Merritt, you know, on your sides, that's probably more important than pulling Chance as of now.
Well, the other deal is with me is my right arm probably is not going to be like, I could have talked all kinds of shit with Chance and I could have talked it with whoever I wanted to, but I was offered another match with Matt Mask. Like, a guy from Edmonton phoned me or sent me a message, said, hey, you want to pull Matt Wright in June? And I said, I can't because I just do not have full recovery on my right arm. So my goal for my right hand is to have it ready to pull by our nationals in July.
Right.
And other than that, I can't talk shit. I can't call anyone out. I can't do it because my right arm's not in shape. I am doing, to give you I tried some experiment in the gym with some light weight. I'm doing 40 reps with my left arm on that weight and 3 reps on my right arm. So it's not recovering. It will,
Right.
but it's going to be a long road back. And so that being said, I'm going to embrace my left arm. And it's probably something I've never focused on ever. So that being said, my left becoming kind of my money arm over the years kind of happened by accident because I'm right hand dominant. Yeah. And going into the Cody match, it'll almost be Devin's method of training, but on the opposite arm.
You know what? Here's the thing. Did I ever tell you my theory about pulling left-handed? Why lefties don't get the love that would? Because I'm a left-hand puller, but I'm right-hand dominant. Did I ever tell you my theory?
Probably not, but I probably heard it from other people. But you go tell me what it is.
And tell me if this makes sense. So the guy that trained me up in the sport, and I asked him, I was like, I'm right-hand dominant, but yet I win more at my left. Why is that? And I was still green in sport at the time. He said, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. He had me do a drill, and follow me here. He actually had me do this. There was a nail that was kind of maybe 2 taps into a piece of wood, and he had a hammer. He says, take this and hammer that nail in. I said, all right, weirdo. So I took the board, I had it like this, right? Took the hammer in my right hand, and I tapped it all the way in. I'm thinking, what's this Miyagi got me doing, which that's his nickname, Miyagi. He goes, does that seem smooth? I was like, yeah. He goes, flip it around and do it. I said, all right. So I kind of yanked the nail halfway out. Now I put the board in this hand, and I take the hammer in my left hand. And as I'm going, I cannot hit the nail. And all of a sudden, the board in my hand starts to drift down like that. And I can't hit it. I go, what's going on? He goes, your right hand dominant means you're more technical in this hand and you're more strong in this hand, meaning that you can hold the board like here all day long and you're dead on here, but then you flip it around, you cannot hit the nail for nothing and your hand slowly goes down. And when I thought about that, I was like going, damn, that's why, when I get into a match right-handed, I'm thinking, okay, I'm feeling the pressure. All right, he's giving me this. I got to do this. Where in the left hand, I just grip up, just say go. It's weird when he told me that, and then it all makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's the drill he had me doing.
Yeah, I always thought that my left was a little stronger and a lot more technical.
Right.
And the technical piece came from, and over the years, I've lost the technical piece because injuries have forced me into certain lanes. Mm-hmm. But it's because I had to teach myself how to arm wrestle right from scratch. Where my right hand, I had ideas already, and it was bad habits all over the place.
Right.
And it's a completely different style. But why doesn't left arm get the respect?
It's I don't know. They're starting to irritate me because I'm thinking, where is the respect? Where are the left-hand pullers that we should get the love? Talk to Steve Kaplan if Walker comes back. Get the lefty some love,
Yeah. There it is. I've been bringing it back.
There you go. See? Hopefully they come back one of these days. But, but taking matches, I'm going to be focused on my left hand so much after, what are we, 3 weeks out from Washington State? So after my match with Jeff Frank, I'm going to really put the work in left hand because I think you've seen that I posted this week. I am pulling one Robbie Topi in June.
That's a massive, no offense to Jeff, leap in level of competition.
Yeah. People thought I lost my marbles when I posted that. And on record, and I made a thread about this, and I'm going to say it again. Am I crazy? Probably. I'm about, a good 48% crazy, which is fine. But it's the event my wife and I put on for our son, the LLD Foundation tournament. We had it just earlier this year. Robbie showed up, took a super mask because, he's about that kind of stuff, so I'm glad he did. And I'm thinking, hey, what better way than bring a big name to our event once again and to get more people to come. I'm thinking, my wife and I sat there and thought, we'll probably get about 75 entries, not knowing there was going to be 180 entries. And I was like, holy crap, but throwing that out there and go, you know what, Robbie? And I was just talking out loud to one of his teammates, and I didn't think he was going to ask him. He asked him and says, Robbie said he pull you. I'm like, wow, okay. So I talked to Robbie, like, you okay with that? He goes, yeah, sure. I'm thinking, all right, now it won't be the 270-pound version that we saw against Cody Merritt.
Now I think Robbie's done with that 270-pound version, isn't he? Like he's trying to stay healthy and in shape and a little bit lighter.
He's at 235 right now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's good, but he'll still be a tough guy to beat. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the match. And there's no such thing as crazy in the sport. I mean, eventually you got to step up in competition, and you get beat or you win or you get a good lesson.
It's weird because a lot of people, I'm not mentioning any names, but they don't want to challenge themselves, but they still want to stay in the spotlight. That's so weird to me. Like, did you get into the sport just to, hang out and be at the top and not pull anybody? Did you actually want to be in the sport to compete? Like, if you're in the sport long enough, all of us are going to take a loss at some point. So for me, it's just like, I'm pulling Robbie Topi. It's one of my biggest matches ever. And yes, I could come out, on the losing end. However, for me, I set my goals realistic. I focus on at least getting one win. If I can get one win, that's a win to me. It's like Chance Shaw. If he can get one win on Brzenk, that's a win for him, no matter what happens.
100%.
Right? That's how I'm walking into this match. If I can get one win, because it's best of 5, or it's a race to 3, however you want to, think about it, hey, that's a win for me. I'll take that.
I agree. That's a good philosophy, but maybe you'll surprise yourself. You never know. You never know which guy's going to show up on each side of that table. So
right.
It's going to be interesting. Now, how much more you want to talk about that? I'm sure in the coming weeks we're gonna talk about that tournament a lot and get it pumped up and get some people there. I mean, you might end up with a few hundred entries by the time that it rolls around.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some other people to come too, but I also want to let people know that it's not one of these tournaments where it's like, hey, how much is first place? It's not that kind of tournament.
Yeah,
because then you'll get the wrong kind of crowd. I don't want that. This is a benefit tournament. All proceeds go to the Long Live Donald Foundation. So for his birthday on November 10th, we had a fundraiser at Mod Pizza, and we raised over $500. So that was pretty cool. Which meant if you bought pizza from Mod Pizza, 20% went toward the foundation. So it's one of those things where it's like you pull for a good cause, not so much for like, hey, is there $500? We might have a cash box. We've done that before in the past where depending on, what place you take, the higher you place, the more tickets you get. So there might be a cash box, but we're not doing a bunch of money prizes and all that kind of stuff because that's not what this event's about. So.
Or Drake says, road trip, Ryan, ? I'm like, sure, Wardo, let's go.
Nice.
I would love to come to that event.
Please come on down. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, I think we might actually be there. We'll see. We'll see what the wife says. Maybe I'll just be able to go with Ward. We used to go on these road trips all the time.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So I have a match coming up.
Do tell.
Before we went on the air, we were talking about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that match is Mr. Cody Merritt.
Yes.
Kansas City, March the 5th. And I would say that Cody is probably the favorite in that match, despite, the fact that I've never actually lost to Cody.
You're the last person to pin him left-handed?
I may very well be the last person to pin him left-handed.
And that's just me kind of going back into my memory bank. I think the last time you guys actually pulled was the 2018 WAF Worlds?
Yep.
And he took second to you. And I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you pinned Cody, which meant he was the last person to be pinned left arm. But I want to say if he beat you, was it on elbow fouls or something?
It was. Okay. He actually knocked me to the B side, and I came back off the B side and managed to. They were so strict on elbow fouls. So kind of what happened was I was more patient, and Cody ended up, I kind of held him at center, and he was jumping all over trying to move my arm and fouled himself out.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, it was strategy. I knew that they weren't going to let me do my hit because they were calling everything. They were calling so many fouls. It was unbelievable. It was unreal. And yeah, so I don't know if Cody and I actually ever pinned each other in that event, but I might still be the last person to pin him way back in WAL.
And I'm going to bring this up because, you know, this may play a factor. So your last match, it was WAF, right? They're real strict on elbow fouls. It's a, you know, get your grip set up. Whereas I'm going to guess that this event coming up is going to be close your thumbs, close your hands. Does that play a factor?
So I believe so. Does it play a factor? I think that I've got a better hit, so it might actually work in my favor.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Cody and I, we're friends.
Yeah.
And he's the most humble guy in the world. But he's the man, and he needs to at some point acknowledge that he's the man. And I want that number one spot.
There you go. From a WAF standpoint, you have the last two remaining world champions.
Yes.
Because there was no WAF last year. And from what I'm seeing, there might be a WAF. I'm not even sure now. I keep hearing things. It's on. No, it's off. No, it's in this country. No, they pushed it back. So I don't even know what's going on with WAF right now. But as of right now.
Yeah, they're calling it something different.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah, they're putting together tournaments, but they can't, like, world participation is not possible at the moment, so they called it something else. And hopefully by 2022 we'll be able to have a true world championship, or two of them, because IFA will hold another one.
Yeah, rumor has it's going to be in Ukraine next year.
The IFA one.
Yes.
That is interesting. I think
just to put that on your radar.
Yeah, I will. And I'm one of the few guys that can still attend those events and not have to worry about getting popped.
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, it's so weird. I don't want to get too much on this because that's been a topic forever, but the corruption of all this, you know, at least IFA got their stuff together. Because I know I got friends on both sides of the fence who are, you know, WAF pro IFA. I get all that, you know, but you have to sit back and go, what are we doing over here? You know, I mean, at least IFA figured it out, at least for this year. Now, next year, it won't be in the States, but still, I mean, they're starting to get their stuff. So you'll have more international to pull from if you're a North American, because now we have to go over across the pond and compete. But, you know, WAF, I just don't understand.
The world is a mess. You know, the one thing I appreciated, like last night, hey, Lethal Arms, all in. Welcome to the show. The one thing that is so weird and confusing to me that I can't even stand it is I've had now 3 vaccination shots. Mm-hmm. So I got the booster too. And I go to an event last night in my hometown that is 100% vaccinated. Everyone carded at the door.
Wow.
And I have to wear a mask in that room, which is just about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, if you have faith in that vaccination, why are we still doing that?
You're vaccinated, but you have to wear a mask? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, unless you're seated at your table, you still had to wear one. So,
right.
Contrast to the UK, where if you have a vaccine, you can do whatever the hell you want, no mask, because they have faith in what they're giving you. You know, I don't want to go down the COVID rabbit hole, but it's Yeah, it's kind of stupid and so inconsistent.
Okay, well, let's change gears to a happy topic. All right. Speaking of UK, did you see the new rollout of Arm Wars now that Neil released?
Yes, Neil's been keeping me in the loop on some stuff, and I've got some videos that I need to oh geez, I just got a message and I'm going to need to clarify it because we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Neil's been keeping me in the loop a little bit about what's coming and giving me some previews.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome, man. Like the production. Yeah, the production, do tell. Like, it's going to be an amazing thing, and it's going to be the league of choice, I think. It might not be the most lucrative of them, but I think the future and the way Neil is doing it and rolling it out is pretty incredible.
I see that. He sent me the leak and I watched it and I gave him my opinion. And this Arm Wars, this next go around, is very interesting because now there's a story to tell, right? It's more, and I'm coming from a WWE. I'm going to go WWE right now because it makes sense how you get two wrestlers in the ring and they tell a story. Well, now with Arm Wars, they tell a story, and they tell their own version of their story. And you got other pullers chiming in on that particular match, and it just makes the buildup that much more exciting. They've never done that before, and I think this is what might put arm wrestling on its ear.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm only saying that because if Wall wasn't coming back, Neil wouldn't be. If Wall was coming back, Neil wouldn't be putting all his eggs in this basket. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but you know.
I don't think so. I think you're right. I think you're right. They do it up right over there.
Yes.
You know, other than the shit show I went through, but I mean, that's not no fault of the promoter.
Right.
I had a message sent to me by Clifton Erickson from you know who that is?
I've heard of the name before.
Northern United States. So
Yeah.
he said, did you hear the jab Devin took at you on the show with John and Engen? I was like, oh. He said it wasn't huge, but Engen made a comment about beating him left-handed, and he made the comment, "You sound like Ryan now."
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've expressed interest in the match. I'm not ducking anybody. So if Devin wants to actually maintain, which is the weirdest thing in the world, how long has it been since Devin had a left-handed match?
You mean aside from Saplankov?
Yeah, that would be the last one. How many years ago was that? That's
probably
like,
3 years ago.
That's pre-COVID.
Yeah.
That's like 3 years ago or more.
I don't count the match with Wagner. I think the Saplankov was after Bortolato at Wall. That was left-handed. But I think, you know, he went there and, you know, Dennis put the boots to him.
And he's still ranked number 3. Like if it was like Chance Shaw's rankings, and actually it is Chance Shaw's rankings. He does those in the hook rankings.
Yes.
When he does them, his rule is if you have not competed in 2 years, you're out. Yeah. So he took me. Why is Devin still on there? He took me out of there. I had to correct him because I did pull a tournament in the summer.
Right.
He booted me and Jerry off the ranking right because we hadn't pulled in 2 years.
I think that's more of a jab toward Jerry than more than you. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, holy cow! If it's the rule, follow it for everybody.
Right. I think that is kind of nonsense. Like, wait a minute, like, you know, and like I said, maybe, you know, Chance doesn't keep up with all the events. Maybe you know, because I had to tell him, oh, by the way, you know, I pulled at this event because now I think he does make a good point. After your name, in parentheses, the last event you pull, which is good because sometimes we're trying to figure out who's doing what. So you should be up there with your name in parentheses. However, with Devin, it's like, did he pull some local barbecue tournament that we're not aware of that keep him up there?
Maybe. maybe if that's all it takes. I mean, I could hold an event here tomorrow with 3 guys and, put a video out and I guess stay on there.
Because, the one thing about the rankings, and everyone's going to have their own opinion, but I'll tell you this, and we'll just use Jerome Loud as an example, because that guy is awesome, by the way. You know Jerome Loud, right?
I do. Yeah. He's really good.
Okay.
Really good.
He goes to the IFA championships in September in Florida and I don't think he took a loss at all that entire weekend. He takes gold left and right. Now, 1 loss, but because he didn't beat anybody that was in his weight class in the hook rankings, he didn't go up at all. He stood where he was. And we're talking a world champion.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's just like, okay, we're talking world champion. Meanwhile, John's pulled a total of 3 people, and he's number 1. Just saying.
There's no system that works perfectly, and sometimes.
We all know he's the greatest, John is, but he pulled Chance, not in his weight class. He pulled Dimitri. He might be in his weight class.
I think he's close to his weight class. Paul had to bulk up to be in his weight class.
Right.
Yeah.
And boom, John's number 1.
And now he's pulling Devin Larratt, who
is not in his weight class.
Is not in his weight class, but he also is what many people would argue top 3 in the world. If he is the fully bulked up pancake version of Devin that pulled Michael Todd.
Mm-hmm. So the rankings is cool to be on there and be recognized by your peers, but it's just hard. You could be, and I'll speak from a U.S. standpoint. I can be in the hook rankings at the 242 left hand, number 14, but yet not even be ranked top 15 in the U.S. rankings. Whatever, because that's ran by a different set of people. So,
yeah. We had a guy asking Eric, I live in Brainerd, Minnesota, watching for 2 years. Where can I find people in Minneapolis? There's tons. There's actually a Minnesota arm wrestling Facebook page. So should have no problem.
Oh, Joseph Drellick's out there.
Yeah, Joseph's in Minnesota.
Yeah, he's out there. So get a hold of him.
Yeah. Hi, Carolyn.
Oh, is that Carolyn Looms?
You betcha.
Oh, what a sweetheart. I love her.
Yeah. We're good friends now.
Do you know what today is?
Saturday.
It is Saturday, November 20th, which means it can only be one thing. Late November brings the John Brzenk Cup in Midvale, Utah. And the marquee on there is Jordan Seal versus Mega Mike. Any thoughts on that?
Man, I don't know. I don't know where those guys are at.
It depends on how healthy Jordan is. Jordan is one guy that will not duck anyone whatsoever. He will not duck anybody. The downfall to him is that he won't duck anybody, which sometimes means you pull so much and you get hurt. I'll take this match. I'll take that match. And it's like going, dude, sometimes you got to just pump the brakes, relax for a second. If you got any nagging injuries, you got to heal them because, you won't be the best version of yourself. And I need to take my own advice on that too. But these new supers coming into play all off the West Coast. I mean, Derek's not new, but you take him, you take Brandon Allen, Mega Mike, Eric Spotto, and you kind of go, all right, you get these new guys. And when I was watching the Spotto versus Mike Aiello match, and everyone was like, oh, if Mike goes into Eric's power, it's over. Aiello's losing 3-0. And I sat there, I can't remember if it was on my show or somebody else's show. And I said, you know what? This match is going to come down to who's going to perform or perfect an actual arm wrestling move. That's what's going to tell. And Mike did it.
I thought it was a bad match for Mike. And it just showed me how different it should show the world how different a practice match and a real arm wrestling refereed match can be. Because Spotto gave so much trouble to Michael Todd, gave
Mhm.
so much trouble to Devin Larratt, but had nothing. Let's face it, he had nothing for Mike Aiello in Mike's move, in Mike's power. He could not. Mike just did what he always does, and it was way too much for Eric.
That's the strangest thing. Mike only pulls one way.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's coming. It's almost like the two people I can sit there, actually three people off the top of my head I can think that pull one way, it's coming. With Cobra Rose, he's going to top rope. With Jerry Caderet, he's going to flop. What IL is going to get that shoulder and dive in. He is not going to do anything different that you haven't seen him do his entire arm wrestling career. And Spotto knows that. And yet he couldn't do anything with that. And you would think, okay, if Eric stops this match, then it might get interesting. But Mike just mowed through him like it was nothing. It was shocking, actually.
It was shocking. I thought it was Eric. I would have put money on Eric. And he's got work to do. He's got to stay around. He's got to get in real matches, and he's got to perfect his craft. Because right now, I mean, you could consider Aiello to be kind of a gatekeeper to the top tier. And he just slammed that gate shut.
Well, here's the thing. When you have all these athletes who cross over from different sports, I mean, look at Larry Wheels. I mean, that guy looks like he can bench press my whole entire house, but it ain't going to mean nothing on the table if, you're benching the whole world. But if you don't have that wrist and hand connected, I mean, you get these power lifters and strongmen, they're like deadlifting a bunch of weight, but they got straps on, keeping their wrist there where, hey, pullers don't have that. We got to strengthen that stuff. And with Larry, when he pulled, was it Schoolboy, King of the Table 1, it showed right there he had a lot of work to do. Now, he's been training with Levon and putting out video that, it's all about the bicep. Okay, which is true. However, someone bust that hand back just that much, that's all it takes. That's all it takes.
When I started doing bench press, I was well into my arm wrestling career. Like, we're talking 10, 15 years in. And I would bench, and all these powerlifting guys thought I was nuts because I wouldn't wrap my wrists. I didn't need to.
Right.
I was benching over 500 pounds, and I was basically from the shoulder to the finger, I was raw. And they thought it was really strange and dangerous, but my wrists never moved.
Right. Now, are you wrapping your thumb, or are you just kind of going like that?
I was wrapping.
Okay.
Yeah. Because in the IPF, you have to wrap. But I also was doing the other way before that, but then I had to actually wrap because of the rules.
Right.
Clifton says, bring my name up. We already did, Clifton. You missed it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's your thoughts of all these athletes crossing over to our sport? I mean, it's going to, when they get, acclimated to our sport, it's going to make some very interesting matches, because now, you got guys climbing a mountain like, Derek Smith. I mean, to the top of the mountain, Corey West, Chance Shaw. I guess you can throw in maybe, I would say Robbie Burnett, but he's kind of dropped some weight too. But then they look behind them, and all of a sudden you got these Mega Mikes and Eric Spottos and Brandon Allens of the world kind of going, hey, we're right there. From a strength standpoint, yes, but from a table IQ standpoint, they're not quite there yet. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a couple of folds, right? So a guy comes in that's super powerful. It's actually going to be a pretty long road, maybe a longer road overall than if you came in completely raw and learned how to arm wrestle and then learned how to train.
Right.
Or did the two kind of in concert. If somebody comes in like a Spotto, he's going to be limited by his own body mechanics already tremendously because of the sport he was involved in previous to arm wrestling.
Right.
I like that it's attracting all these guys, but they also need to understand if they're going to make a go of this, they can't just dabble. They have to stick with it and be in it for a meaningful amount of time. We saw it with Scott Mendelson. He was kind of toe in the water guy, and he came in because of his name, got some big super matches, and got destroyed in just about all of them.
Yeah, the last time we heard of him, I remember didn't he go to like Nemiroff, or he went to Armed Fight or something like that, or Vendetta, and got destroyed by Alex Kurdeka.
And that was a Kurdeka that was like super new, like brand new.
Yeah.
And then there were some other ones that he had, but I mean, he was on the big stage based on his name from another sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Larry being the promoter, I mean, Larry has got a humongous following on social media. So I get it.
Right.
I get it. Why he would be on the main card of one of the biggest arm wrestling events in the last 5 years. Yeah. Twice. I understand why. But from a purist perspective, he does not deserve to be on there. He's never won anything.
I'm glad you brought that up, which bothered me, and this should bother you too. So here's why it bothers me and why this should bother you. And we'll use WAL for example. Does it bother you that you only had one match and you lost to Jerry? Fine. But then it's like on one of the finales, they have Juju Mufu. I'm like, why in the hell is this guy on a WAL card and he's not a legit arm wrestler? That's what if Juju would have stayed with it, fine. But when you got arm wrestlers who put the work in, who bust their butt to make a name and scratch and claw in this sport, and then you bring some social media icon on here, it's like now you're just swinging for the fences, or you're just throwing stuff on the wall and hope to see it sticks. I mean, to watch him and Michael is like going, why are we watching this? I mean, to me, it's just a waste. It's a slap in the face to all the guys who've been actually putting in the work. That's how I looked at it.
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. There's that perspective where it's a slap in the face, and you know, the established arm wrestlers can go and be pissed off about it.
Right.
Or there's the other perspective that bringing in guys with crossover following can really fast track the sport to a bigger audience, which would benefit all of us. So if you can maintain, David is saying, yes, that's nuts, guys. It's Larry's event. He started King of the Table. I get it. But it's almost like starting a wrestling promotion and making yourself the champion immediately. But I get
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, that's right. So I understand why they do it. I understand the appeal of appealing to a larger audience immediately. I mean, every sport has done it at some point.
Yeah.
You stuck, how many times was it the Boston Red Sox farm team gotten more views than when Michael Jordan was trying out for baseball? Or Brock Lesnar sitting on the bench for the Minnesota Vikings? Or CM Punk coming over to the UFC and getting his ass kicked by some guy that probably didn't even deserve to be in the UFC, but he was way better. You know, it's
totally get that.
It's kind of happened a lot all over the place, and you're also seeing it in boxing.
Talking about Jake Paul?
The Paul brothers, and they turn out to be decent boxers, but they're fighting guys that, you know, Ben Askren. I mean,
yeah,
if you can't wrestle, he can't fight. You know?
Right. Well, I think they need that to kind of build their brand, because you can't just, you know, step on everyone's toes and just go straight for the king. You know, you can't do that. You know, you got to pay your dues.
But those Paul brothers probably brought more eyes to the sport of boxing than 99% of professional boxers have in the last 10 years. They probably got more views for that Triller card than Canelo got for his last fight.
Well, they figured it out because they've put themselves in a position where they're the most hated. So everybody wants to see them get their asses kicked. But in the meantime, they're getting all the views. They're getting all the views, you know, and it's like, 100%. Okay, you know, and that's what it is right now. Now, Juju, has he done anything since for arm wrestling? No. And that's the point I'm making. What's that?
Now he's trying to be a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah, see, and that burns me. So I'm thinking, dude, Wall, Steve Kaplan, gave you an opportunity. You know, you just went, let me just do this one thing. And at the time, I thought Paul Passport deserved that spot more than he did. I thought Robbie Burnett deserved that spot more than he did. That's just my personal opinion. Because at the time, those guys were like, ramping up and they were kicking ass. And I do believe Paul might have been on one of the undercards. And I think Corey West was on one of the undercards, the ones that weren't on actual TV or weren't televised. They were the undercards. And here's Juju getting all the spotlight. And granted, he has a following, but I'm sorry, it irritates me when you got guys who just come in there for a cup of coffee and they leave, because now you're pushing back the guys who are making their way up, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to go ahead and pull this event card, and now I'm going to go ahead and freeze your growth. I don't like that.
Well, let's take it from another perspective too. I mean, why did they pick Mike Aiello to go against Juji Mufu?
I think, well, I guess you could say gatekeeper, right? Like, okay, if you're serious, pull this guy and see where you go.
Did they, or did they expect Juji to lose? But they needed somebody that looked like he should be Juji.
Well, shit. I mean, didn't Juji get one win? It was just like, really, dude? Like, it was just.
Hey, Mike blew up kayfabe on our show, and he said that Juji asked him to give him one, and he did. So it was not there was no way Juji was beating him,
right? And
Mike just made it look good. So I mean, Mike probably gets that match because he looks like a guy that is in the role, right? I mean,
unless it's a Game of Arms where he did not win one single match.
Fair enough. But he was also against like the super elite of the United States at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, he's going up against Chafee and Badgett and whoever else.
Underwood.
Yeah. And Don at the time was like the real Don Underwood. Like, he's not the guy that, is on his way back, that has taken some losses. I saw Dustin Powell made a comment. He actually tagged me in a post about being a gatekeeper to the top 2% in the world, and he was one of the names I threw out there. But you also threw some other names out there, Dustin, and man, you got to do some research, because you're going to tell me Evan Burgoyne is a gatekeeper to the top 2% in the world. I think you're a little bit off on that.
Wow. I didn't realize. I thought Evan Burgoyne was like 260 for some reason.
Well, he was at one point, I think.
So I see him now in a couple of pictures he had with Alan Ford. I'm thinking, I thought he was just bigger and taller for some reason.
No. There's a lot of guys that, and this is a perfect example of what we were just talking about. It was guys that are getting more clout than they maybe should based on social media and YouTube. Now,
that could work. I might be getting all this because of social media and YouTube. Who knows? I might be a part of that. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. And you brought up Derek as one of the new guys. Everyone keeps talking about Derek, and you said he's been around for a while, so I recognize that you recognize that.
Yeah, he's been around longer than me.
Derek's been around forever, man. He just took a bunch of time off. Like, he's been around since Gary Roberts, before he left the sport originally. So we're talking a decade minimum.
Dude, I'm going on year number 12. And
he's been around, longer than that.
And this is back when the Northeast Meshes Board was the thing. There was no social media, there was no Facebook, as far as tournaments, and everyone, Northeast Meshes Board, that was the thing. You went on there and like, oh, okay, when's the next tournament? Okay. And then once you find out when the tournaments are, everybody sat there and was like rocking their chair and pacing forward, because you knew Monday or Tuesday the promoters would put up the results, and that's how you knew what was going on. And then was RMTV there? Oh, sweet, let me check it out. Then you saw the footage. That's what it was back then,
Yeah, Dustin, I still disagree, even with left hand. But anyway, yeah, back when the UAL was, remember? Well, the UAL wasn't even around yet, and then we had the Northeast board and everyone was complaining back then about, the right-handed prize was $300 and the left-handed prize was 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. We're talking about the same thing we talked about 15 years ago.
It was just things that were different then. It was more of who was there at the event, not so much what money's there. And I think when people get a taste of that, they kind of just stick with that. Because when Wall was offering 20 grand for first, and when they had the tournaments paying out to 8th place, and everybody kind of jumped in there and got their, piece of the pie, it made things kind of sour because now, hey, we've been put on this event for X amount of years. Are you coming? Well, how much is first place? First place is like, $300-400. Nah, it's not going to pay for my trip. Once they got a taste of that, it kind of blurred the lines, so to speak.
Dustin, the rankings are wrong, my friend. Anyway, I'm going to stop arguing about that. But we have, those WAL tournaments were like the funnest tournaments I was ever at. They were huge, and I've never seen guys so happy to play 6th or 7th in my life, because they're getting really good paydays out of those massive big money tournaments. And they were amazing, man. It was fantastic, those humongous events.
Yes, I wish they would go back to that. I get that they want to try something different with the super matches, which is good. But then, and I told you this before on one of your shows, might have been last year, and I said, you know what? You can only recycle the same matches over and over again before you start losing some of your luster, so to speak. Like, how many times do we need to see Devin and Michael, or Jerry and Michael, or RVJ and Jordan Seal? I mean, how many times do we need to see that? Like,
yeah, I mean, I do feel like I need to see Jerry and Michael one more time. Just because the way the last match ended.
That left a question mark. You can't end the season. I think Jerry hasn't pulled an actual match since then, honestly.
Man, I don't know. It's all mixed up in my head about what's been happening, but I'm happy to see that in the United States, tournaments are coming back. We have some starting to happen in Canada, but there's lots of restrictions around them.
Right.
And I'm just going to start getting ready. And because after Cody, I mean, there's somebody watching that match to see what happens. And should it happen, they want to put me together with someone special, they said. So I don't know what that means. I don't see Travis coming back, but
even that was a rumor, about, hey, is Travis going to get ready for Cody in the spring? It's like, dude, Travis is at a point where he makes more money not arm wrestling than he did when he was arm wrestling. And he'll tell you that's what he's all about now. Now, usually this time of year, he's kind of laying low because his football season, his son's the quarterback. And so that's where his mind is, rightfully so. But when football season's all said and done, we'll see where his mind is then as far as competing. But I don't foresee him coming back. I mean, he's too much of a character now that I think we need in the sport. He's done it all. He's won Nemiroff. He's won a WAF Worlds. What else? He's won a couple hammers when Wall first came in inception. What does he need to do? He's done it all, honestly.
He has. Yeah, he has. He has done everything. But, if he's going to come back, dipping a toe in the water isn't going to work anymore. You're either in it or you're out of it. And, the only thing that could change that is, performance enhancement, that kind of thing can make guys come back fast. But still don't think it's the best idea to just do it for a couple of months and then take a year off. Like, it's just not possible.
I'd like to know for you, Ryan, that your experience at this latest Armor's reality check wasn't the best experience for multiple reasons. And I'm hoping and wondering now that Armrose is, up and running, are you ever going to go back and compete? Because I don't foresee you being the competitor that you are, leave on that kind of note. Like, okay, I got to redeem myself. I can't sit there and just not compete left because my right was all banged up. And for those viewers out there watching, if you're pulling left-handed and your left hand is healthy and your right is damaged, it does have an effect as far as you holding the peg. But, I can't foresee you just not going back. I hope you get the invitation to go back again.
Neil has told me very certainly that I can go back anytime I want.
Good.
Now, once I am fully healthy and prepared, my intention is to go back. I also want to run that match back with Alex at some point in the near future. Not right-handed, obviously, because it's just not a possibility.
Right.
But left-handed, I want an opportunity to face him again.
I agree.
Yeah.
And where to do it on the biggest stage, I am hoping, because Arm Wars, there's some stuff coming up in late January, early February. There's one. I think there's 2 more on the horizon. Me and Neil's been in some talks about me being on one of those cards. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also making a transition, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but I am on, let's see, I started Sunday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm on day 6 of Chocolate Thunder being vegetarian.
Wow. How's that going for you?
I was so cranky when you realize you can't have any kind of meat, and I'm a sucker for beef jerky, and I can't have that as a snack. And, no steak, pork, chicken, fish, whatever. I've never eaten so much rice and beans and hogging meat in my life and in the succession. It's hard to find something to eat unless you actually make it. So it was supposed to be for 4 days because my son and my wife, the whole household was on board doing that. Yeah, let's do it for 4 days. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. This is right before Thanksgiving. You guys have lost your mind. But I said, I'm gonna just run it all the way through the rest of the year and just see how I feel. I feel like my stomach is shrinking, like not from a visual standpoint, but just more of I'll eat something, then I get full really quick. Because maybe I don't have that meat to stretch things out. I don't know, but I'm trying it. It's weird. I'm laying off soda, I'm trying to, kryptonite is candy to me. I gotta, I quit doing that. So there's some days that get really agitated and cranky because the stuff I normally do, I don't do anymore. So you're not gonna see any difference in a week, but maybe by the end of December, going into January, you might. So I'm just gonna try it, see how it goes, and we'll see where it takes me, because I want to be a better shape, version of me come 2022. So if that means Arm Wars is on the horizon, I really got to be in shape. I can't be in there sluggish. So
yeah, that's correct. And go early, go a couple days early if you're going.
Yes, that's true.
Couple questions in the chat here I'll get to. Matthew, Ryan, do you think you can genuinely beat Devin Larratt? Right-handed? No. Left-handed? Yes. If my right hand's 100%, I still think I have something for him. It's based on style more than anything.
Does he consider you a threat? Does he consider you his equal left hand? Because I've seen in the past, I've heard in the past, you've rolled out that red carpet to him. You gave him that olive branch and he just won't take it left hand for whatever reason, or he doesn't acknowledge it.
He doesn't. No, he makes the odd comment like he did on the show with John and Engen, but it's
right.
It is what it is.
That's interesting because it's like, okay, do you think, I wonder if he thinks that you're beneath him or whatever the case may be, or, you're not on the same, and we're talking left hand, like, dude, I mean, step up. I mean, no, you're not Dennis Saplinkoff with the enormous hand, but a very formidable one. Let's be real. I mean, world champion right here, WAF world champion, something Devin doesn't have, by the way.
Well, in fairness, the last year that he went, Ron Bath and John Brzenk showed up in his weight class.
Could have went back, because even Travis kind of pokes at him, like, dude, Travis pokes at everybody, but that one episode where they're all on, he poked at Michael Todd and Devin, like, wait a minute, you guys, I have a WAF title, you guys don't. That's weird. He also poked to the fact that, hey, Devin, I mean, you've never did a Nemiroff, That's strange. You don't have a WAF World title. Didn't go back. That's strange. Michael Todd, no WAF title. That's weird. And it was funny, but at the same time, these were 100% facts.
It's funny because Matthew said Devin is scared to lose Ryan left-handed, not a big enough name to risk losing. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. It would hurt maybe the brand, but it might not hurt the brand. What it would do is it would exponentially increase my brand.
Well, yeah.
So, other thing is we got some other comments. Mizelle says there's a Team Canada and a Team Ottawa. Interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts. Yeah. So it's I don't know. I'm over it. Devin is basically advertising he's not doing left hand. So get him out of there then. Quit talking about him left-handed. If he's gonna say I'm never pulling left hand again, why the hell are we still talking about him pulling left hand?
We'll get him out of rankings, right? Why should he hold a spot if he's not going to be active on that hand? Just asking.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. I mean, you still see him pull up practice and he's beating guys. I guess that's good enough. Yeah.
So what do you think about the latest comments from Ryan Bowen about should he pull Sasha?
You know.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Man, I don't know. It's
here's the thing, because I always thought Ryan he wants to pull RVJ. RVJ won't give him the time of day. RVJ thinks Ryan Bowen is not in his class. Rightfully so. Okay, cool. We'll never see that. I thought if RVJ were to beat Sasha, then they have to meet. Sasha put into that. So now Bowen's like, okay, well, can I get a crack at that? Whether it's premature or not, And I'm thinking, why not? I mean, this is where we are right now. We are at a point where some guys are taking matches against guys who are that much higher than they are. And all that needs to happen is for the top tier guy to say yes. That's all that needs to happen. Example, Robbie Topi, right? Okay, so that's all it takes. And, of course, when Ryan lost I thought that if Lachlan would have lost to Ryan Bowen, that would have forced RVJ's hand to go, okay, I beat Lachlan and Dare. Now you got to pull me. But that didn't happen. So that RVJ kind of went, okay, you can't beat Lachlan. You don't deserve to pull me.
Yeah.
Now,
the thing with Ryan is, I'm a big Ryan supporter. But how many times are you going to lose in a super match and then ask for somebody that's perceived to be even better than the guy you just lost to? Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and then what if he loses to Sasho, but he loses in a fashion that wasn't quite as dramatic as RVJ? Are you going to use that to try to get the match with RVJ? It's also a weird situation with Australia because Ryan isn't going anywhere at the moment, unless maybe like he could, but there's consequences to that for him.
Right.
I don't know. Like, it's almost like you're taking your shot at all the guys that are the top tier, hoping to get one of them.
Yeah.
To beat one of them. And then you hang your hat on that. But there's guys that might be perceived to be closer to Ryan in strength and skill level. And skill level, I don't think he's really good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's power that is lacking in certain areas, but Lachlan did not struggle in that match at all.
I think even, that was a bigger bite because I think Bowen mentioned that he was around 230 and he was like, I don't want to be around 230 anymore. He did it just for that match. And even at 230, he had nothing for Lachlan. I don't know how much he weighed when they had their match, but Ryan said, he's going back down. He's going back to the 95 or 95 kilo class. So, which I think, there's certain people that need to stay where they're at And when I say stay in your lane, that's not a disrespectful statement. Paul Lynn, perfect example. Had to bulk up to 230 just to pull John. Paul does not want to be 230 because he's an athlete. He works out. He watches what he eats. He respects his body, but he had to bulk up just to pull John. And he said, I don't like that. I felt sluggish. I think Ryan Bowen might have been in the same boat. He had to bulk up to pull Lachlan. He tried it, didn't work out. I know for a fact, not me, but Ryan knows for a fact that he doesn't belong up there. He needs to go back down where he's walking around comfortable. You know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
But Sasha was a whole different.
I'll still tune in to see it, but I mean, Ryan's got only so many bullets in that gun, and if he doesn't get a win on somebody, he won't be able to reload it. It's just, you know, he's just gonna keep taking his shot, and he keeps missing. So it's Sasha is a big, tall order. Sasha is a little wee guy. Like he's a tiny human, but Ryan will be considerably larger than him, but the power that he has is incredible.
Do you think for Ryan, because I don't know what their requirements are as far as leaving the country, I think it was going to come down to, for him to get a big match, he's going to have to get in touch with Neil Pickup and go, hey, I want to be a part of the Arm Wars card. Who do you have for me? Because it's getting to a point now where, like, I'll take on this match and that match, but yet, you know, you're pulling the same guys in your own country, but how relevant are those guys that you're pulling and beating? Aside from Lachlan, how relevant are they?
Yeah.
You know?
We really don't even know how relevant Lachlan is, to be honest.
Right.
So, I mean, Ryan isn't vaccinated either, so he can't really go anywhere. He's going to rely on bringing people to Australia, which is not an easy thing to do. I don't think it's even possible.
Right.
So, I mean, he's going to have to make some decisions here in the next little while. And until he does, you know, there's obstacles to making any match happen for him because of his choices and controls. So, yeah, somebody said Bojidar might be a good match with Bowen. That would be decent.
Yeah. But it all comes down to, like, you know, dude, are you going to fucking get vaccinated? Because, you know, like you just said, like, how difficult is it to go down to, you know, freaking Australia right now? Can you, you know, is Arm Wars going to come there? I mean, it's getting to that point now. Hey, you know, come here if you want to pull me.
Yeah.
Like, really? Because, like, we need to know, are you that elite where people have to come to Australia to pull you? That's what we got to find out. And the only way to find that out is that you got to pull on neutral ground, neutral turf, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Got one question here. It says, Ryan, when you pulled Alex Kurdetch both arms, did you hurt yourself before you actually got into the match? First match, I hurt myself. So yes. Yeah. I tore everything first match. I tried to pull match 2. That's that.
And he was very violent at the table, by the way.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Like, I was like, Jesus, Ryan. I'm like, damn, you know, I'm like, it just looked like, and you were trying to keep a straight face, and you're like, okay, let me go back to my corner. And I know I can almost read your mind. Like, after that match, you kind of went, fuck, this is not good. This is not good. That's the vibe I got from you. And it was like going, shit. I just kind of shook my head like, this is not good. This is not good. Because you weren't scheduled to pull him originally in the fatal 4-way, were you?
No, I was supposed to pull a chance.
Yeah. So, you know, in his style, he's not that aggressive on the table. He's more of, I'm going to hit into a position rather than hit for the pin. Yeah. So that would have changed everything, honestly.
Well, I don't know about that. Like, I was feeling so shitty when I got to the actual table that, man, it might have been a bad match with Chance too. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. I know that in the warm-up things were not happening well. So anyway, buddy, we've been on here for over an hour, so maybe it's time to wrap this one up.
Sure thing. I got to do a few more things before I host a practice today. So
right on. Well, happy practicing, and vegan power or vegetarian power be with you.
Vegetarian, not vegan, because I do like eggs and cheese and stuff. So just no bacon, damn it. So
Okay. Right on. All right, everybody. Thanks for being in the chat. Sorry if we missed your questions. There's always one way to guarantee that we'll get to them, though, and you know what that is. The little highlighted super chat, but we got none of those today. But I've been away for a little while, and now we're trying to get back into it. So, yeah, Ms. L says like the rematch under different terms. I completely agree. Jody, thanks for coming on, man, and be well, be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully, we'll get on here again next week.
yes, sir, man. Thank you. I appreciate that for having me on.